What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the PikaPikaPapa, and I am so excited for this video today because I think there's going to be all kinds of thoughts and opinions shared on this topic. Now, obviously, the title of the video is Scarlet and Violet better than Sword and Shield? And the answer to that question is, who knows? We have no idea to know that yet, right? We are in the infancy of Scarlet and Violet, all things considered. But what I want to do in this video is I want to look at the beginning of Scarlet and Violet all the way through Paldean Fates versus the beginning of Sword and Shield all the way through Shining Fates. Now listen, this is going to be a head-to-head comparison. We're going to go set by set. We're going to look at gem rates. We're going to look at the top 5 cards from each of these sets, and we're going to determine, at least I'm going to give you my thoughts on which one of these is the winner. Now, Sword and Shield right now is the play. In no way, shape, or form am I saying that you should start diverting your Sword and Shield investment money into Scarlet and Violet right now. That is not the point of this video, right? The point of this video is if all of outside noise was gone, let's say the alt arts weren't going crazy, let's say booster boxes weren't going through the roof, right? Let's say all of that noise was kind of flushed out of your mind for a minute. If we were just to do head-to-head comparisons of the sets on the left versus the sets on the right, which one would we think were actually the better sets? So listen, right now, Sword and Shield is still the play, but I think what we're going to find out, at least what I came to believe at the end of this, is that Scarlet and Violet is getting a pretty bad rap, but when you actually step back and take a look at it, I think the Scarlet and Violet era is off to a really, really hot start. So you know me, I can't just do simple comparisons. I always got to pull some data behind it. And when I was doing my data dives, this was one of the things that really jumped off the page at me. So I went ahead and pulled the total number of cards graded by set and the total number of cards that had been graded that received a Gem Mint grade from Scarlet and Violet all the way through Paradox Rift, and I did the same thing from Sword and Shield all the way to Vivid Voltage, because for me, as somebody who is looking for long-term price appreciation in my singles cards and in my booster boxes, having a low gem rate is a good thing, right? It helps keep the gem population low. It helps drive demand for the sealed product because everybody is trying to get those really low pop PSA 10s. Now, if you look at the numbers, we'll start with Scarlet and Violet through Paradox Rift. Look at the gem rates. The gem rates are abysmal. Even Scarlet and Violet with a 41.9% gem rate. Paldea Evolved sub 40 at 39, and then it bottoms out at Obsidian Flames at a 34% gem rate. Now, it starts to work its way back up. Pokemon 151 comes in at a 39% gem rate. That is absolutely crazy. That is why I think the English version of 151 has such great long-term potential, right? When you look at the gem rate in the Japanese version of 151, it's like 83%. You get PSA 10s just raining from the sky in the Japanese version. Here in the English version, not so fast, my friend. You're talking a 39% gem rate, which is crazy low for such an incredible set. Now, in Paradox Rift, things started to get better. It bounced back up to a 52.2% gem rate, and we just don't have enough information on the newer sets to do a comparison, so we'll wait a couple months and see where that flushes out, and then we'll look at this again. But look at Sword and Shield, look at Rebel Clash, look at Darkness Ablaze, look at the gem rates in some of these sets, 67, 66, 71. I mean, those were some incredible high gem rates. That shows you the print quality was great early on. The centering was great early on. There was no edge chipping. There was no corner whitening. Like, none of it was coming out of the factory like that. So that, to my mind, goes to explain why some of the singles cards aren't super expensive, because you can pick them up in near mint or better copies all over the place, left and right. But comparing that to Scarlet and Violet, obviously the numbers don't lie. It is much harder to find that in Scarlet and Violet. Now, the other thing I wanted to call out is the overall grading volume seems to be up, which is a good thing. That shows me that there's a ton of interest in these sets. I promise you, if there was not interest, we would not see these high grading numbers. But when I think about the fact that a lot of these sets still have a lot of growth ahead of them, right? There's going to be tons and tons and tons of more Scarlet and Violet open for the foreseeable future, probably for the next couple years. The thing that gives me some, I don't know, so just some comfort is that the gem rates are so low. So when I'm looking at individual cards with really low gem rates, I know that even if 10,000 more of them are graded, right, then there's only going to be 3,900 if the gem rate holds, say in Paldea Evolved, that are going to end up with the PSA 10. And then cards like the Magikarp are even lower than that. So a lot of these things go into me when I'm making some considerations and when I'm trying to determine the investability of these sets early on in the Scarlet and Violet era. So now we're going to get to the head-to-head comparisons, but before I do that, as I always do, we're a small channel. We put a ton of work into this and we're focused on growing. So if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. If you have questions opinions or comments, or you disagree with some picks, let me know in the comments down below. And as always, if you just enjoy this, give us a big old thumbs up. Those 3 small things go a long way in helping our small channel out, and we really appreciate it. So with that being said, we're kicking off with Sword and Shield versus Scarlet Violet. And for me, this was a tough call, believe it or not, right? You got Miriam. I love the art on that Miriam card. You got the little fluffy Pikachu in the background chilling in the window. I love the fact that she's tripping and the books are flying in the air. To me, it's just like a remarkably human card. I love the artwork. And then you got, the thing that concerns me though is you got 2 trainers right there. You got 2 items in the top 5. Then you got Gardevoir. Then you got Miraidon up there, right? Then you look at the Sword and Shields down below. You got Miriam, you got Snorlax, obviously Z and Z were the headliners there of that Sword and Shield set. And then, of course, the gem rates, which I just talked about, they're much lower in Scarlet and Violet. But even with the lower gem rate in Scarlet and Violet, guess what? I gave the nod to Sword and Shield base over Scarlet and Violet base, coming out with a swing and possibly a miss right out of the gate. So I personally, I love that Marnie card. I think you got Miriam up there. You know, she's all about the Force, and you got Marnie, who's all about the dark side down there. I love the fact that you got Snorlax in there. I think that is just an awesome anchor card in there. And then Z and Z ain't bad at all. One of the things that concerned me was when I looked at Scarlet and Violet base set and I went beyond the top 5 cards, 8 of the top 15 cards in the Scarlet and Violet set right now, from a price perspective, they're all trainers. Now, it's super early. Those cards are going to rotate out and other cards will rotate in. But when I looked at their overall performance right now compared to a lot of their peers in the Scarlet and Violet set, it just didn't get me super excited. So Sword and Shield for the win out of the gate. Now, the very next sets right here, Rebel Clash and Paldea Evolved, and you all know that I am low-key obsessed with Paldea Evolved, so I'm not even going to lead into it. You all know I'm going to take Paldea Evolved all day long. Look at that gem rate. That gem rate, it is at a 39.4%. You know that Magikarp has a infinitesimally small, it's like a 22% gem rate on the chase card in there. I love that. That Iono right there, again, another card with a really low chase rate, or a gem rate, excuse me. You got the Raichu right there. You got the Chenpao. You got all kinds of awesome cards in Paldea Evolved. Now, not throwing shade at Boss's Order or Sonya or Ninetales down there, but I think when all of this shakes out, when you look at the overall card content and the characters in here, I just think Paldea Evolved is a really special set, and I think a lot of people are sleeping on it. We'll have to see what the future has in store. Lots of reprints to come, lots of restocks to come, but I am very, very bullish on Paldea Evolved for the long term, and I think it kicks the pants out of Rebel Clash. Now, the next ones we're going to talk about, Obsidian Flames and Darkness Ablaze. Another, we talked about, Obsidian Flames has the lowest gem rate overall out of all of these Scarlet and Violet sets. Incredibly hard to get these in PSA 10 holders. Then you have Darkness Ablaze, and it is the complete opposite. You have a gem rate for Darkness Ablaze cards at a 71.5%. Absolutely Looney Tunes. So before I even get too deep, you know that I'm going to be picking Obsidian Flames right there. Plus, when you look at the Charizard, right, obviously it comes down to a fight in the Charizard space. For the Darkness Ablaze Charizard, there is over 17,000 of those in a PSA 10 gem mint holder right now, and there was 22,300 of them graded. That specific card had a 76% gem rate. That is why I'm telling you, that is why that card, it's like a $30 card right now. So when we think about gem rates, it matters. I promise you, it matters in the raw card pricing. It matters in the obviously in the PSA 10 card pricing. It is important, and that is a $40 card. Now, when you look at the Obsidian Flames Charizard, there's just shy of 3,000 of those in a PSA 10 holder, but guess what? There's been 10,602 of them graded for a gem rate of 28%. That is incredibly low. That might be one of the lowest Charizard gem rates we have seen since Burning Shadows, right? In Burning Shadows, we saw a gem rate of that Rainbow Charizard in there at 18%. Outside of that, I don't think I've seen one as low as 28%. I'm not saying that this card is going to pop off and do anything similar to what Burning Shadows Charizard did. No way on this God's green earth is that going to happen. All I'm saying is that the gem rate for this card is crazy low, and I think that's going to give it some opportunity for some long-term price appreciation. Now, the next ones we're going to talk about right here, Champion's Path at 151. Again, I don't need to do any kind of interlude into this. You all know, hey, listen, I'm giving it to Scarlet and Violet 151. There's so many intangibles about 151. It brought a ton of people back into the hobby. It is wildly hot right now. These singles cards have performed unlike anything we have seen in a long time. There was no Pokemon pop and flop for most of them. Most of them have actually appreciated in value since the set came out, and we don't typically see that. Now, I don't want to make light of Champion's Path. Those two Charizards right there are absolutely stunning. If Champion's Path just had a little more breadth, a little more depth, just a little more oomph to it, this might have been closer to call. All right, no matter what, it wasn't going to be close to call, right? Scarlet Violet 151 is a set for the ages. Just look at all the art up there. You know that I love, it's not shown here, but you know how much I love that Squirtle card. Just really the top 20 cards and even beyond that are just absolutely stunning pieces of art. It's an amazing set that came out at a wonderful time to keep everybody excited about the Pokemon hobby. So I just love Scarlet Violet 151, and I know a lot of you do as well. So the next one we're going to look at here is Vivid Voltage and Paradox Rift. And again, I'm going to pause on this one because I had a very, very, very hard time picking between these two sets. I have a lot of love for Vivid Voltage, even though Vivid Voltage was absolutely I don't know, a victim, I won't call it a victim, but absolutely was impacted by the pandemic, because what happened was it was in such high demand that Pokemon printed and printed and printed and printed poor Vivid Voltage. If you look right below the Vivid Voltage emblem right there, you see the actual grading numbers. There have been over 184,000 Vivid Voltage cards graded to date with a 57% gem rate. Now, compared to the peers that we've seen before, that's a pretty low gem rate for Sword and Shield era starter sets. So the thing that I love is that Chunkachu right there, that Rainbow Chunkachu. Like, I think that that card, for all of the reasons that I just said, because it was so in demand during the pandemic, because so many people flooded in to get it, I think that card's going to hold some memory for a long time. Like, I just love Vivid Voltage for all of those reasons. Not saying it's going to be the greatest investment in the long term, but for whatever reason, it just holds a special place in my heart. Then you look at Paradox Rift down there. I think a lot of Paradox Rift cards right now are being driven by playability, and there's nothing wrong with that. But guess what? When I'm thinking in the long run, what's going to hold better value over time? Is it going to be that Roaring Moon down there? Is it going to be Iron Valiant? Like, what is going to be the card from the Paradox Rift set to kind of climb up to the top like the Pikachu? So I'll be honest with you, I'm going to let you all decide. This was very hard for me to make an unbiased decision. My heart was telling me Vivid Voltage, but then once you get beyond the Chunkachu Rainbow card, like, there's just not a lot there. Even that Pikachu V, I don't like that artwork at all. So I don't know if I'm ready to plant my flag in the sand and say that one epic card is enough for me to declare Vivid Voltage the winner. But you guys can let me know in the comments down below. I know a lot of people really enjoy Paradox Rift. I know the game mechanics in Paradox Rift is absolute fire, so who knows? Maybe that will help, you know, a lot of people fall in love with it now and give it some long-term price appreciation in the future. And then the final two on the list right here, again, it's just not even fair to compare these. You can't compare Paldean Fates to Shining Fates. Remember, these are the top 5 cards by raw value right here. And when you look at the top, you got Charizard, you got Mew, right? You got Pikachu, you got Iono. Like, you have the big names up there in Paldean Fates. When you look below, you got another Charizard, but then you got Skyla, right? You got Rapidash. You just not the same oomph in the Pokemon space, right? So obviously, I'm giving Paldean Fates the win. To me, it's not even close. You got the Charizard from Shining Fates, but this was also a set that was a victim of the overprinting or the printing to demand during the pandemic. But I'm going to tell you straight up, even if it wasn't a victim of that, then guess what? I still don't think it would hold a candle to Paldean Fates. Paldean Fates lineup is absolutely fire. We talked about the Charmander, and guess what? I have a whole video coming out tomorrow on Paldean Fates. I did a deep dive into it. Paldean Fates is absolutely going crazy. I am such a fan of this set, and I've been a fan since day one, so it's exciting to see that we have so many great sets here in the Scarlet and Violet era. Are they being overshadowed by Sword and Shield right now? Absolutely. Should they be overshadowed by Sword and Shield right now? Absolutely. Again, I'm saying it loud, I'm saying it proud. This is not me saying you should pivot any of your investment money into Scarlet and Violet. What I'm saying right now is we should all be thankful, because I think that when you compare Scarlet and Violet beginnings to Sword and Shield beginnings, we are in a fantastic spot. I think the hobby is in a great spot. I think that the Scarlet and Violet is off to an epic start. Now, Sword and Shield has set the bar so insanely high for the back half of the era. I personally don't know if Scarlet and Violet can match. I don't know. Who knows? Obviously, the Pokemon Company is doing everything in their powers to keep all of this momentum going, so we shall see. But the Sword and Shield bar is set really, really high. And remember, Twilight Masquerade that's coming out next month, guess what? That is the equivalent to Chilling Reign. And we all know that from Chilling Reign on, things get crazy in the Sword and Shield space. So at least for me, the bar is set really high for all of these future Scarlet and Violet sets. So hey, listen, if you all have made it to the end of this video, I can't thank you enough for watching. I appreciate you so much. If you haven't, hit that subscribe button. Questions or comments, drop them down below. And as always, if you like what you see, give us a big old thumbs up. Thank you so much. You guys have a great one. I'll talk to you soon. See you, everybody. Bye.